If you've ever felt like an outsider, if you've ever had to fight for respect, or if you believe love can conquer anything, this story is for you. Drop a comment telling me, would you have done what Esther did? And don't forget to like and subscribe because this story is about to get wild. The sound of Esther's palm connecting with Mrs. Kang's face echoed through the dining room like a gunshot. 20 pairs of eyes froze. Crystal glasses stopped midair. Even Junho, the most feared man in Seoul's underground, sat paralyzed. His mother's head snapped to the side, a red mark blooming across her porcelain cheek. Esther stood, hands still trembling, chest heaving, tears streaming down her brown skin. "I am done," she whispered, her voice breaking, "being treated like I don't belong in my own marriage." 6 months earlier, Esther had walked into Junho's penthouse office with a box of his belongings and divorce papers. Their marriage was a battlefield disguised as love. She'd met him 2 years ago at a charity gala in New York. Esther was a trauma surgeon, exhausted from a double shift, only attending because her hospital required it. Junho had been there for business, the kind that involved men in dark suits and briefcases full of cash. He'd approached her at the bar, tattoos peeking from his collar, neck inked with dragons and Korean characters she couldn't read. "You look like you'd rather be anywhere else," he'd said in perfect English, his accent thick but his smile dangerous. "You look like trouble," she'd shot back, not intimidated. He'd laughed, a real laugh that crinkled his eyes. "I am. But maybe you need trouble." She should have walked away. Instead, she'd let him buy her a drink. Then another. They talked until dawn about everything except what he really did. When he kissed her against her car in the parking garage, his hands gentle despite the violence she sensed in them, Esther knew she was falling into something she couldn't control. 3 months later, they married in a private ceremony. No family. No friends. Just them. The problem started immediately. Junho's mother, Mrs. Kang, had appeared at their Seoul home unannounced 1 month after the wedding. She'd looked Esther up and down like she was examining spoiled meat. "My son married you," she'd said in Korean, though her disgust needed no translation. Junho had tried to mediate, but he was always caught between two worlds, his mother's expectations and his wife's dignity. What would you do if your in-laws treated you this way? Drop a comment below, I want to hear your stories. Now, standing in his office with divorce papers, Esther's hands shook. Junho sat behind his massive desk, his face unreadable. The dragon tattoo on his neck seemed to pulse with each breath. "Sign them," Esther said, her voice steady despite her breaking heart. "I can't do this anymore." Junho's jaw clenched. "No. Your mother called me a disgrace yesterday. She said I trapped you. That I'm using you for money." Esther's voice cracked. "And you just stood there, Junho. You didn't say a word." He stood abruptly, his chair scraping against marble. "What do you want me to do? She's my mother. And I'm your wife." Esther slammed her hand on the desk. "Or am I? Because some days I feel like I'm just some dirty secret you're ashamed of." The words hung between them like poison. Junho moved around the desk, but Esther stepped back. Don't touch me and make me forget why I'm angry. That's what you always do." His eyes, those dark, dangerous eyes that had once made her feel safe, now looked desperate. "Esther, please. Your mother hosted a family dinner last week. She invited everyone. Except me." Esther's tears finally fell. "I'm your wife, but I wasn't invited to a family dinner. Do you know how that feels? To be erased." Junho's hands fisted at his sides. "I didn't know." "You never know. Because you don't want to see it." Esther grabbed her purse. "I'm done being invisible in my own marriage. Sign the papers, Junho. Let me go." She walked toward the door. "I love you," he said quietly. Esther stopped but didn't turn around. "Love isn't enough when you won't fight for me." The door closed behind her with a soft click that felt like a gunshot. Junho didn't sign the papers. Instead, he showed up at Esther's apartment, the place she'd rented after leaving their penthouse, at midnight, soaking wet from rain. His white shirt clung to his tattooed chest, his hair dripping. "Go away," Esther said through the door. "Not until you listen. I'm calling the police. I told my mother to apologize." Esther froze. Slowly, she opened the door. Junho stood there, looking more broken than she'd ever seen him. "What?" "I went to her house tonight. I told her she needs to apologize to you, or she'll never see me again." His voice was raw. She laughed. "Said I'd choose her eventually. That you'd live on your own once you realized you don't belong in our world." Esther's heart twisted. "Junho. She's wrong." He stepped closer, water dripping onto her doormat. "You belong with me. I belong with you. And I'm sorry I didn't see what she was doing. I'm sorry I let her make you feel small." "It's not just her," Esther whispered. "It's everyone. Your associates, your family, the women at charity events who whisper when I walk by. I'm exhausted from fighting for a place in your life." Junho cupped her face with both hands, his touch gentle despite the violence he carried in those fingers. "Then stop fighting alone. Let me fight with you." His lips found hers, desperate, apologetic, full of everything he couldn't say. Esther kissed him back, hating herself for still wanting him. But wanting wasn't enough. "Actions, Junho," she whispered against his mouth. "I need to see actions." Junho didn't just promise change, he declared war. The next day, he called a family meeting at his mother's estate. Every aunt, uncle, cousin, and associate gathered in the grand living room. Esther stood beside him, her hand clasped in his, feeling every judgmental stare. Mrs. Kong sat in her throne-like chair, her face a mask of displeasure. "I called you all here," Junho announced in Korean, his voice carrying authority that made men twice his age straighten, "to make something clear. Esther is my wife. She is a Kong. And anyone who disrespects her, disrespects me." Silence. "That includes you, mother." Mrs. Kang's eyes flashed. "Junho, we need to speak privately." "No." His grip on Esther's hand tightened. "Everything I have to say, I'll say in front of my wife. You will treat her with respect. You will include her in family events. You will acknowledge her as part of this family. She doesn't understand our ways," and Aunt began. "Then teach her," Junho cut in. "With kindness. Not cruelty." Esther's heart hammered. She'd never seen this side of him, the leader, the man who commanded rooms without raising his voice. Mrs. Kong stood, her silk hanbok rustling. "And if I refuse?" Junho's face hardened. "Then you choose to lose your son." The room collectively gasped. Mrs. Kang's composure cracked for just a moment, a flash of hurt before the ice returned. "You would choose this, woman, over your own mother." "I choose my wife," Junho said simply. "Just as father would have chosen you." It was a low blow. Junho's father had died defending Mrs. Kong from a rival gang 20 years ago. Everyone knew the story. Mrs. Kang's face paled. Without another word, she swept from the room. Later that night, Junho found Esther on their penthouse balcony, staring at Seoul's glittering skyline. "You didn't have to do that," she said softly. "Yes, I did." He wrapped his arms around her from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder. "I should have done it months ago. She hates me even more now." "She doesn't hate you." Junho sighed. "She's afraid of you." Esther turned in his arms. "Afraid? Of me?" Junho led her to the outdoor couch, pulling her down beside him. "My father died when I was 15. My mother, she never recovered. She built walls around herself, around me. Control was the only thing that made her feel safe." "Junho. Then I met you." His thumb traced her cheekbone. "You're everything she's not. Free. Bold. Unafraid. You chose me knowing exactly who I am, what I do. You didn't want my money or my name. You just wanted me." Esther's eyes filled with tears. "I still do." She sees that. and it terrifies her. Because she knows she's losing control. Not just over me, but over the narrative she's built about what kind of woman I should marry. Junho's voice dropped. She wanted someone she could mold, control. Someone who would worship the Kong name and never challenge her. I'm not that woman. Thank God. He kissed her forehead. But Esther, I need you to understand something. My mother, she's not cruel for cruelty's sake. She's protecting herself the only way she knows how. When my father died, she became this fortress. Love became weakness to her. Esther's heart ached for Junho, for the boy who lost his father, and strangely, for Mrs. Kong, the woman who lost her heart. What do? We keep fighting, Junho whispered. Together. The next 3 weeks were different. Junho made good on his promises. He brought Esther to business dinners, introduced her to associates with pride in his voice. When they attended a gallery opening and someone made a snide remark about exotic beauty, Junho had the man removed from the venue within minutes. Esther started seeing the man she'd fallen for in New York, protective, passionate, present. One evening, Junho came home early with paint supplies. What's this? Esther laughed. You said you miss painting. He shrugged, looking almost shy. I thought maybe we could paint together. I'm terrible, but... You remembered, Esther whispered. She'd mentioned once, months ago, that she used to paint before medical school. Before life got too busy. Before everything became about survival. They spent the evening making a mess of the penthouse floor, laughing as Junho proved he really was terrible at art. Esther painted an abstract sunset while Junho mostly just got paint on himself. You have purple in your hair, Esther giggled, reaching to wipe it away. Junho caught her hand, bringing it to his lips. Marry me again. What? We did it wrong the first time. Small ceremony, no family, hiding. His eyes were serious. Let me marry you the right way. In front of everyone. Let me show the world that you're mine and I'm yours. Esther's breath caught. Junho. I want my mother there. I want her to see us choose each other. Maybe then she'll understand that this isn't about her losing a son. It's about her gaining a daughter. Tears streamed down Esther's face. Okay, she whispered. Okay, yes. He kissed her then, slow and deep, tasting like hope and new beginnings. Are you still watching? Because what happens next will blow your mind. Drop a fire in the comments if you're hooked. The dinner was Mrs. Kang's idea. A proper family dinner, she'd said over the phone, her voice tight but civil. To discuss the wedding plans. Esther should have known it was a trap. They arrived at the Kong estate to find not just immediate family, but extended relatives, business associates, and several women Esther had never met, beautiful Korean women in expensive clothes who looked at Junho like he was still available. What is this? Esther whispered. Junho's jaw clenched. I don't know. Mrs. Kong greeted them with a cold smile. Junho, you remember Jiwoo? She's just returned from Paris. She studied art history. Jiwoo, a stunning woman with porcelain skin and designer everything, smiled warmly at Junho, completely ignoring Esther. It's been so long, Jiwoo purred. Your mother tells me you're expanding the business into Europe. Esther felt Junho tense beside her. Jiwoo was someone my mother wanted me to marry, he murmured. Years ago. Of course she was. Dinner was a nightmare. Esther was seated at the far end of the table, away from Junho. Jiwoo sat beside him, laughing at everything he said, touching his arm, speaking in rapid Korean that Esther couldn't follow. Mrs. Kong held court at the head of the table, directing conversation, pointedly asking Jiwoo about her family's business, their connections, their legacy. Such a shame you couldn't make it work back then, and Anne said loudly. You two would have made beautiful children. Esther's fork clattered against her plate. Junho stood. Enough. Sit down, Mrs. Kong commanded. We are simply having conversation. This isn't conversation, Junho growled. This is disrespect. Is it disrespectful to discuss your future? Mrs. Kang's voice was ice. To remind you of what you gave up for this infatuation. The word hit Esther like a slap. Infatuation. As if their love was temporary. Childish. Meaningless. Mother, Junho warned. She doesn't belong here, Junho. Mrs. Kong finally looked at Esther, her eyes cruel. Look at her. She doesn't speak our language. Doesn't understand our culture. She'll never be one of us. You're sacrificing your legacy for someone who will never truly be a Kong. The table fell silent. Esther stood slowly, her body shaking. You're right, she said quietly. I don't speak Korean fluently. I didn't grow up in this world. But I know disrespect in any language. She walked around the table toward Mrs. Kong. Junho reached for her. Esther. I have tried, Esther continued, her voice breaking, to earn your respect. I've attended your events. Learned your customs. Smiled through the whispers and the stares. I've loved your son with everything I have. Mrs. Kong stood, facing her. Love is not enough. Love is everything. Esther's voice cracked through the dining room. Your husband died for you because of love. Junho fights for me because of love. But you? You've let fear turn you into something bitter. Something cruel. How dare you speak of my husband? How dare you dishonor his memory by treating love like it's disposable? Tears streamed down Esther's face. You think I'm not good enough for your son? You think I don't deserve the Kong name? You don't. Esther's hand moved before she could think. The slap echoed like thunder. Mrs. Kang's head snapped to the side, the red mark blooming across her cheek. The room went dead silent. Someone's wine glass tipped over, red liquid spreading across white linen like blood. I am done, Esther whispered, her hand trembling, being treated like I don't belong in my own marriage. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Junho was there, placing himself between Esther and his mother. We are leaving. Junho, Mrs. Kang's voice was shocked, broken. No. He turned to face her, and Esther had never seen him look so cold. You pushed her too far. You've been pushing her since the day we married. And you know what, mother? I'm proud of her. Proud. Mrs. Kong touched her cheek, disbelief in her eyes. She struck me. Because you struck first. Junho's voice boomed. Maybe not with your hand, but with every cruel word, every dismissal, every moment you made her feel less than. You've been hitting her for months. She just finally hit back. He took Esther's trembling hand. I love you, mother. But I love her more. And if you can't accept that, if you can't treat my wife with the basic dignity she deserves, then you've lost us both. You would choose her over your family. Mrs. Kang's voice broke. She eyes my family. Junho's eyes glistened. She's my wife. My partner. The mother of my future children. And if you can't see how incredible she is, how brave, how strong, how deeply she loves despite being given every reason not to, then that's your loss, not ours. He started walking toward the door, Esther's hand in his. Junho, wait. Mrs. Kang's voice was small, fragile. They stopped. Mrs. Kong stood there, one hand still on her reddening cheek, tears streaming down her face. I was afraid, she whispered. Afraid you'd leave me. Like your father did. Like everyone does. Junho's expression softened slightly. Dad didn't leave you. He died protecting you. That's not the same thing. But he's still gone. Mrs. Kang's composure finally shattered completely. And when you married her, I felt like I was losing you too. To someone I didn't choose. Someone I couldn't control. Someone so different from me that I wouldn't know how to share you. Esther's anger wavered, replaced by something unexpected, pity. You're not losing him, Esther said quietly. But you're pushing him away by trying to hold too tight. Mrs. Kong looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time. I don't know how to do this, she admitted. I don't know how to not be afraid. Neither do I, Esther replied. I'm terrified every day that I'm not enough. That I'll never be enough. That one day Junho will realize his mother was right. Junho squeezed her hand. Never. But, Esther continued, her voice stronger, fear can't be why we live. It can't be what drives us. And it can't be used as an excuse to hurt people. Mrs. Kong was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, she bowed just slightly, but it was there. A gesture of respect. Acknowledgement. I am sorry, she said, the words seeming to physically pain her. For the hurt I have caused. For the daughter-in-law I failed to see. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't everything. But it was a start. 3 months later, Esther and Junho renewed their vows in the same garden where the disastrous dinner had taken place. This time, it was different. Mrs. Kong had helped plan it, actually helped, not sabotaged. She'd even asked Esther's mother to fly in from Atlanta, had arranged for both families to meet beforehand, had prepared traditional Korean dishes alongside Southern soul food. As Esther walked down the aisle in a dress that blended traditional Korean hanbok elements with modern elegance, she saw Mrs. Kong in the front row, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief. Junho waited at the altar, his suit sharp, his tattoos visible and unapologetic. When Esther reached him, he was crying. You're the bravest person I know, he whispered as she took his hands. You make me brave, she whispered back. They exchanged new vows, promises about fighting together, choosing each other daily, building a family that honored both their cultures, both their stories. When they kissed, the garden erupted in cheers, Korean and English, tradition and rebellion, past and future colliding in the best possible way. At the reception, Mrs. Kong approached Esther with a small velvet box. This was my mother's, she said, opening it to reveal a stunning jade necklace. And her mother's before that. It goes to the woman who marries into the Kong family. Esther's eyes widened. Mrs. Kong. Please, the older woman interrupted, call me mother. Tears spilled down Esther's cheeks as Mrs. Kong fastened the necklace around her neck. I was wrong about many things, Mrs. Kong continued quietly. But mostly, I was wrong about you. You are exactly who my son needs. Someone who challenges him. Someone who won't let him, or me, get away with less than our best selves. I'm sorry I hit you, Esther whispered. Mrs. Kong actually smiled, a real smile. I'm not. I needed someone to shake me awake. To remind me that strength isn't the same as hardness. She touched Esther's cheek gently. You are strong. And you are family? Later, as Junho and Esther danced under string lights, he pulled her close. No regrets, he murmured against her hair. Esther looked around, at her mother laughing with Junho's aunt, at Mrs. Kong teaching Esther's cousins a traditional dance, at two families that shouldn't fit but somehow did. Not a single one, she whispered. This is exactly where I belong. Junho kissed her temple. My defiant, brave, beautiful wife. Your wife who slapped your mother, Esther added with a laugh. The slap had round so. Junho grinned. They'll be talking about it for decades. Good, Esther said. Let them talk. Let them know that love is worth fighting for. That respect is earned, not given. That families aren't just born, they are chosen. She looked up at the stars, feeling Junho's heartbeat against hers, and knew with absolute certainty, some loves are worth every battle, every tear, every moment of defiance. Because the best love stories aren't the easy ones. They're the ones you fight for. So, what did you think? Would you have slapped her? Could you forgive like Mrs. Kong did? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, I want to hear every opinion. And if this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe because I've got more emotional, dramatic, unforgettable stories coming your way. Share this with someone who needs to hear that love is worth fighting for. Until next time, keep choosing love over fear. Red Heart.